am super excited to sit down with Suzie Crooch today, and she is a Western industry influencer that has strong agricultural roots. And I actually came across Suzie through Mackenzie Kimbrough's podcast during the NFR, but I'm super excited to talk to you myself today. And without further ado, Suzie, would you mind just kind of telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Allie. I am very excited to share a little bit about me to your listeners. So, I'm Suzie Crooch. I operate on Instagram as Velvet Brumby. I also have a blog. It's www.velvetbrumby.com. So I started that about 3 years ago now, just sharing just the different facets of my life as it's developed. I started with Western fashion, then went into the home space with home decor, Western home decor. And then when my little girl came into the world, her name is Renly, I started sharing about her too. So just kind of three different sectors that I really focus on my Instagram page. So I am nearing 20,000 beautiful followers that want to kind of see what's going on in my life, which is really crazy. I love being able to connect with people across the world and make new friends and chat with them in DMs and in comments and things like that. But it's been a really cool experience, and I'm excited it's grown organically. It's not been forced, it's just been, whatever it's going to be is whatever it is kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, you have like your page is beautiful. Like everything flows so perfectly together. Your daughter is adorable, and I love her name. Like that is such a cute name.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's just your growth has been kind of crazy to see how it has all happened. And I know this is kind of a question that is a weird question, but what have you found to kind of be your secret to success in that growth? Just kind of being real, or what has been the best
Yeah, so
combination for you?
I think everybody on Instagram, when they're choosing who to follow, they want the real content, right? So I try, and I'm not great at like sharing stories every day, just because like I do work at 8 to 5 for a poultry company, and we can talk about that in a little bit.
Mhm.
So I really can't be sharing like, okay, this is what my a day in the life looks like for
Right.
me, because I don't think my company would very much appreciate that. They're paying me for that. So I
Right.
really get on after 5 o'clock, and I might update stories here and there. And then on the weekends, I try to be, sharing more there. But I think that people they just appreciate the real and the raw. So I try to keep it that way. But I also like to share, different finds. So like different clothing items, just different. I don't really share beauty products that much because that's not really my niche. I share a lot about Ren, and I think mostly people follow me for my home content, if I'm being very honest.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping we're building a house, so I'm expecting that to really kind of take off here in a few months, and I'll probably be sharing tons of more info from that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's so exciting, the whole house process. We're in the middle of remodeling ours, and so,
yeah,
it's
you're
fun,
brave.
that's for sure.
You're brave.
Yeah, it's been an adventure, to say the least. But I'm excited, kind of like you said, to get to the point where we can decorate and do all of the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but with home decor and stuff, and fashion and everything that you do, is there one that is kind of your favorite, or do you just kind of like everything?
Man, I really like all of them. Just because it's really easy to share like the real deal when you're open to sharing like all facets of your life. And I mentioned this with my interview with Kinsey. You're really supposed to focus on like one specific thing, and that's how
Right.
you really see successful growth, when you're really honing in on fashion, on beauty, on being a lifestyle blogger. But the numbers, I really don't care about the numbers. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel it will be organic when you share what you want to share, and that's kind of what I do. If I had to choose one, I'd probably say home content, because it's not as saturated in the Western industry. There's tons of different amazing Western influencers that you can follow, but as far as like specific Western home decor folks, I haven't really seen a ton. I mean, I can think of possibly 5 just off the top of my head. So, yeah, that's probably my favorite to share just because it's a little different than what's already being created.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree with you on that as far as saturated market. My mom and I have an antique and home decor business, and from the farmhouse realm of things, very much saturated.
Yes.
But yeah, and then as far as like when you are finding pieces for your home, like where are some of your favorite places to shop and find those pieces?
Yes, so that's an easy question because my absolute favorite is when you're looking for those Western pieces to add to like a modern home,
Hmm.
that's going to be Lorik Ranch. Their pieces are very timeless, but with Western decor, in my opinion, you have to be very careful not to be like kind of cheesy-ish,
Totally.
like there's a very fine line there.
Yes.
I try not to cross it. I
Yeah.
try to keep it very I don't know, classic looking. So I love to find pieces from there and then mix it with like the very like subway tile or the white walls that you see in a lot of houses. So or the wood textures.
Hmm. Yeah, a good mix of it all for sure. Um, Great. Well, and where did you kind of come up with the name Velvet Brumby? Because it's definitely unique.
Yeah, so I wrote down a ton of different options in my notes and then I bounced the ideas off of my husband and just probably my closest friends and then they all kind of liked that name the best and I hadn't seen the term Brumby in anybody else's I don't know name on
Right.
Instagram. I see a lot more of those now, but and then obviously I love velvet as a texture. So I just loved the name Velvet Brumby. A lot of people that aren't in the Western industry don't know what Brumby is. So I put that as like a caption essentially on my blog when you go and see that it's a untamed horse.
Yeah.
So it's a slang term too, but a lot of people that didn't have a clue were like, "What in the world is that?"
Yeah, it's super cute and unique. And the tagline I thought was a really cute touch when I was looking at your blog,
Thank you.
and just kind of tied it all together.
Yeah,
But switching gears a little bit, I want to go back to kind of your upbringing and your agricultural roots and all of that for a second. Can you kind of expand on some of that?
sure. So I grew up in a tiny town. It's called Gentry. It's in Northwest Arkansas, which is the beautiful part of Arkansas, in my opinion. Um, and I believe then there was only like 3,000 people. I don't know what it is now. It's not much bigger. Um, we have like one stoplight and we thought we were a pretty big deal whenever McDonald's decided to start their business there as well. But anyway, I grew up there. My dad raised me until he remarried later. So for the beginning of my life, really, I spent a lot of time at my granny and Paul's house. They have a poultry, or they had a poultry operation and a cattle operation. They've since moved across the road and still have all the cattle as well. My granny has since passed, but my Paul still keeps everything going. Um, but grew up around them, and then as well as my dad until he remarried. And that was kind of where my ag roots came from. Um, and then once I got older, I went to college at the University of Arkansas, and I obtained a degree in poultry science, which is kind of some people would think it's like, oh, that must be equivalent to art degree, or it's like very
Right.
it's very what's the word I'm looking for?
Focused.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, very focused. So, but it's not when you grow up in Northwest Arkansas and you realize that Arkansas is the second largest poultry state in the country,
Right.
next to Georgia. So, I knew when I was getting out of college that I was going to have a job because there's Tyson, there's George's, there is also Simmons Foods, which is where I work now. Um, so I finished in 3 years, got the poultry science degree with a minor in agriculture business. Um, and then I was hired on salary before I even graduated college, which was awesome, by Tyson Foods. I became a commodity trader and traded soybean meal and a little bit of corn. I got married and then made a change. So because my husband works in Tulsa, so I couldn't drive from Tulsa to Springdale every day. So I moved over to a little bit closer to there, and I've been working for Simmons for 3 years, and I'm now in sales as a national account manager.
Wow. Okay. So let's dive into the poultry thing a little bit just because, and those, I know I've touched on it here and there kind of throughout my stuff for those who are listening. But I also am now involved in poultry. I wasn't growing up or in school or anything, but through Texas A&M, now work for the poultry science department, which for those of you who know nothing about poultry science in the education world, very small community. There's 6 colleges that have poultry science as a major, and A&M is one of them, and obviously University of Arkansas is one of them. So the fact that I found somebody who studied poultry science was like aha moment for me because there are very few and far between. And Susie, maybe even you could talk about kind of the how it is at University of Arkansas as far as, you know, your class sizes and how small the department was and all of that.
Yeah, so when I got down into, out of the basics that you have to take when you go to school and really into poultry science, it was like I was back in my high school days again, and I loved it because my class size, they'd be, anywhere from, 10 students to like 30 students. So it was really awesome. My professors there, they were very much like how my high school teachers taught, very personal.
Mhm.
Um, and people from they were all from around there as well, for the most part. So I really got to know them very well, and I very much enjoyed that experience.
Yeah, and then obviously you mentioned it, but the fact that poultry science students are going to have a job when they graduate. That was something when I came into my current position was just blown away by. Like, it's kind of like a hidden gem that people just don't understand. The poultry industry is just needs that many people to be in the industry working, and just the supply and demand is very much off as far as students and employees go. Um,
Right.
but and maybe you could touch on that a little bit too now that you're in the industry.
Mhm.
How kind of is it being in the industry and working through
Well,
it on a daily basis?
you're absolutely right as far as like everybody does know everybody. So
Yeah,
even once you get in and you're working for one company, like you have to be very careful not to burn any bridges, obviously, because when you go to that next company, because you probably will, I mean, our generation is going to change jobs more than previous generations.
right.
um, but you're likely to, work with individuals that you might have worked with previously at another company. So it's very tight knit. It's a very great community, though, as far as like, feel like everyone has everyone's back kind of thing. Um, but it's also, let's touch on job offers. Several of my friends, like, they had options, right? They had, 3 to 5 different companies recruiting them to come and work for them. Another fun fact, my dad actually went to the University of Arkansas and obtained a poultry science degree as well. And now my younger cousin is about to graduate in May with her poultry science degree from the University of Arkansas, and she already has a job lined up as
Yeah,
well, Simmons. So it's kind of like a family thing. Now there's going to be 3 of us working for the same company, which is
that's so
really cool.
cool. That's so cool. Yeah, and that's what I always joke with our students is, you know, they have 3 to 5 job offers on the table when they graduate, where I had nothing when I graduated with an ag business degree, and they're gonna get paid more straight out of college than I'm making right now. You know, already 2 years into my career. But the poultry industry, like I said earlier, and like you've touched on, is just kind of like one of those hidden gems that once you can, if you can find yourself in the industry and enjoying it, then it's definitely something that you can grow and be successful in as far as career wise.
Yes, absolutely. I'm actually really excited because this year I was named, I think it was 20 under 30 for the poultry industry.
Oh wow,
Um,
that's so awesome.
we were supposed to get to celebrate, which was really cool, but then obviously COVID happened. So I think we're going to do something next year. It was supposed to be in Nashville in around August, but obviously that got moved. But that was, I think that's just such a huge, like, to me, I was really proud to receive that because it's my professional life, right? Like I
Right.
spend 40 to 50 hours a week working. So to be recognized was really cool.
Yeah, congratulations. That's incredible. Hopefully things will get back to normal shortly and you'll be able to get the recognition you deserve.
Oh, thank you.
But now, kind of touching on that as well, you're in a very unique situation, that where you have a professional career and then you also have this social media kind of career. I mean, it's grown probably to a career, it feels like on some days.
Yes.
How do you kind of manage all of that and keep things separate, but yet also have them converge at the same time too?
Right. I have to keep a content calendar as far as like this is the campaigns that I'm working on for these brands, and this is due on this day. And I just have to stay very organized. And I try my very best not to let the two uh, kind of commingle because I do have an 8 to 5 and I'm being paid for that. So I
Right.
try my best not to let those two meet as much as I can, and try to do my my Velvet Brumby responsibilities after business hours. Sometimes I'll take a lunch though, and I'll work on Velvet Brumby things, and I think it's okay is right as long as I'm doing both jobs. So
Absolutely, yeah. As long as things are getting done on both ends, then it's all right at the end of the day, right?
yes,
And what to like women in this industry, I feel like, and even the poultry industry, I think is a great place to talk about it too.
yeah,
How have you, being a professional in the agriculture industry and then also now social media as well, how have you kind of seen maybe women take a bigger role in the kind of some of these different positions and find personal growth too, I guess?
right. I think that's a very weighted question, which I
Yes.
love that. So I'm the only female salesperson at my company, um, which it's interest. I mean, it's hard. I won't even play it off like it's not because it is. Because especially being a young mom, it's always like, I feel like maybe sometimes it's harder to get those opportunities because I've got, other things kind of,
Hmm.
how do I word that? It's very easy to be like, well, she's a mom, we can't give her this project because she's got to do that. I'm not saying that's happening to me currently. It's just something that might be in the past kind of thing.
Right.
Um, but I feel like it's awesome because every day more and more women are trying to make a seat at the table, right? So, and that's very much me. I think when you're in a male dominated industry, you have to say, look, I'm here. I can do the same work that you can do, and give it my all. And you just have to be vocal about what you want, and you just have to go get it. Nobody's going to give it to you. Um, so I feel like if you have that confidence to be able to, take a seat at the table, then um, you'll be better off.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you said it in that way and so eloquently because I feel like sometimes I talk to people who are like, "Oh, it's not an issue. I've never had an issue." And I'm sorry, but if you are involved in the agriculture industry as a woman, there's been at least one incident where there's been an issue.
Yes.
Which if they haven't, good kudos to them, I guess. But it's cutthroat. If you're a male, so
Yeah.
kind of trying to forge your own path as a woman is definitely something that I commend you on for sure. And hopefully, someone else, maybe listening or watching, will be able to kind of take that as some inspiration to kind of do what they feel like they need to do as well.
Right. Yes, and I'm lucky that I work for a company that's very inclusive, as far as opportunities are concerned. But I am the youngest, and I am a woman, obviously. So
Yeah.
that does present challenges at times. I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. And the fact that you're doing it well too is going to be, even more congratulations on your end for that.
Thank you.
So, last kind of as we're wrapping up here, final question, and then we'll kind of go into ways to contact you. But if you could kind of share one thing with somebody who maybe had no idea about the Western industry or the agriculture industry, what's something you might tell them about your way of life?
Sure. So I would just say, well, it's in my bio, but like let's literally be friends. Like
Yes.
I love meeting new people and kind of introducing them to our way of life, more on the agriculture sector than the western side even. I feel like it's a very tight knit community, so it can seem, intimidating to be a part of, but I'm not really sure why it's so feel like it's a very judgmental industry at times. Like if you don't, have this kind of horse or you don't drive this kind of truck, like you
Mhm.
don't belong kind of thing. But man, I just wish it was more inclusive sometimes. So, um, my bio specifically says let's be friends for a reason because I want everyone to feel like they can be involved and they can learn more about the agriculture or Western industry. And if you don't feel like you can talk to me about it, there's lots of people that I can lead folks to.
Yeah, perfectly said. I think that's a great point. And then lastly here, what I know you mentioned a little bit in the beginning, but if somebody was wanting to get in contact with you or follow along, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. It's at Velvet Brumby, or my blog. It's www.velvetbrumby.com. You can email me. It's Suzie at velvetbrumby.com. So one of those three ways, you probably should be able to get a hold of me.
Perfect. And thank you again, Susie, so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and life today. I really appreciate it. And I hope that those of you who are watching or listening got something out of today. I know I definitely did.
Oh, it was so great to talk to you, Allie. I really appreciate the opportunity.